All right, welcome everybody. It's Rob here for our BSPU call. Today, we are going to be talking about booking speaking engagements. Now, there's quite a bit of training in the BSP membership area on using your book and building an audience and those kinds of things when it comes to booking speaking engagements. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the foundational things that are important to have in place first. And I'm going to also reference some of the things that there's maybe more in-depth training in the BSPU membership area. Khaled, how are you, my friend? Let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to go over today. Let me make sure that I can share sound. Good. Okay. So everybody should see my basic Word doc there of what we're going to cover today. I want to spend a few minutes going over what I would call some of the fundamental or foundational things needed to really be a prolific speaker. And when I say prolific speaker, I mean, speaking more than once or twice a year like I do. I generally just speak at events where either I am a sponsor of that particular company, or perhaps it's something that is very, very focused on my particular industry, or sometimes it's at my own events. Beyond that, I am not personally going out and searching for paid speaking engagements, but I know many of you are interested in that. Let's see, it looks blurry, super blurry. Well, don't worry about it, that it's blurry. I can actually see it perfectly. And I'll share this Word doc with you in the group. Hopefully, when I get to, let me go over here. Do me a favor. How does this look? This is Amy's website. We're going to go over Amy's website in a few minutes. Does that look pretty good? Can somebody type in the chat box? Let me know that that looks good. Also blurry. Gosh, that may be a product of a link that I click. Let me stop the share, and then let me start sharing again. And I am not going to optimize for video clip. So how does that look now? Do me a favor and let me know if that looks any better now. Joy says looks good. Okay, so I clicked a button I'd never clicked before that said optimize for video clip. Obviously, you don't want to optimize for video clip. Okay, sorry about that, my friends. Anyway, these are the things that I'm going to go over with you briefly. Some of them are obvious. Some of them I'm going to spend a little bit more time on. And they're more foundational or fundamental things. Now, when I say foundational or fundamental, for those of you that are interested in speaking for a fee, you want to earn $5,000, $10,000, $25,000 for a speech. You want to be the kind of thought leader or the expert on your particular topic, and want to speak, maybe a little bit more actively. These are things that you're going to need to command those kinds of fees, and things that they don't have to be expensive to build out, but that you should put a little bit of time, energy, and money into. Number one, what is needed or helpful for speaking engagements? This goes without saying, but I do want to mention it. You need to be a published author. Your book, can you do speaking engagements and be paid to do speaking without a book? Of course you can. But here's the truth of the matter. When you start competing for the higher speaking fees and more speaking engagements, then your book is going to set you apart clearly from the competition. It's going to command greater fees for you, and it's going to mean that you will beat out the competition when the competition doesn't have a book. And in many cases, that is certainly going to be true for kind of that mid to lower tier. Once you get into the upper tier, they're all going to have a book. That is the point at which any other credentials that you have, such as big speaking engagements that you've done, media, television, radio, if you're a Wall Street Journal best-selling author, Barnes & Noble best-selling author, in other words, an additional accreditation besides Amazon best-selling author. Those things will set you apart. They're almost like an additional tier, an additional pedestal for you to stand on. And when you're talking about $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 speaking fees, which I don't know what your industry is, but in most industries, the top speakers will command that and even six figures and beyond. Then being a published author and also having additional authority and credentials, like I just mentioned, media placements, real TV, radio, podcast, other big speaking engagements, as well as kind of the upper tier like Wall Street Journal, et cetera, that is going to help you to stand out. Now, most of you already know that. That's because you're my clients. You know, it's something, that's why you became my client, and that's why you're either working on your book or your book is already done. I just want you to know, having your book, and if it's not done, hopefully this will give you some additional motivation to get it done more quickly, but having your book is going to set you apart. Number two, might seem a little obvious, but know your topic and your target audience. I've spoken to many beginning speakers or those that are in the BSP community and are writing books and are looking to start a speaking career. And in many cases, if you're in that position, one of the things that I will talk to you about is really narrowing down your target, narrowing down what your topic is. You can't just speak on kind of general self-help and expect to command the highest fees. So you need a clear target of who it is that you're going to go after. And you need to have a topic that you know inside and out. Obviously, that should be related to your book, but it should be as narrow as possible. And when I say as narrow as possible, I'm simply speaking of, it shouldn't be a very, very general, hey, I'm just going to speak on self-help, et cetera. It should be a more targeted audience. Number three, have a speaker or personal brand website. Now, a lot of people ask me, can this be like my business website? Yes, it can be, although it's so simple and for the most part inexpensive to set up a website. You really should have a website for your speaking as well. But if it is your business website, then what you want to do is you want to have a page and series of pages that answer the questions that somebody that is going to be doing some research and wants to book you will ask. So let me give you an example of that. This is Amy Dix's speaker website. You can see it is amythespeaker.com. So if any of you want to go to that after this training and check out her speaker site, then great. Many of you know that Amy started out when we did her first book. She had never been paid to do a speaking engagement. And by the time her second book was done by BSP, over about an 18-month period, she booked 97 engagements with the fees ranging from $5,000 to $12,000. So this is somebody, Amy, who is very well versed in going from never having spoken for a fee and being a paid speaker to now commanding fees of $12,000 or so, and literally having spoken hundreds of times for those kinds of fees. Now, she loves to be on the airplane. She loves to be traveling. And as many of you know, because I've had Amy on my challenges and different things, as many of you know, Amy is fantastic and she really knows her stuff. Her website is very simple though, and it doesn't need to be something complicated. Obviously, it's a good idea to have some beautiful professional photography, pictures of yourself. You can see Amy has great testimonials right out of the gate. There's information about Amy. There's information about her books, more testimonials. Now, all this is on the main page. Now, besides that, there are speeches. So these are popular speeches that Amy can do. And these are all tied into the two books that Bestseller Publishing has helped Amy with. So she uses her books and her very, very specific topics to reach the people that are looking for, an expert in that particular arena. Besides that, she has video, her books, of course, videos, praise, blog content, which you do not need. And of course, you do need contact information. Honestly, most of this stuff can be housed on 2 pages. I don't want to make this more complicated for you than it needs to be. If you don't have a speaker site, then just know that this is something that you can create pretty easily, and it only needs to be 1 or 2 pages long. And this first page is a great example of what your speaker page or speaker site could be, because it has her books. It has a number of testimonials. If I were going to do a one-page site and not have all of this, what I would add is I would add her speeches on this page, maybe towards the bottom. I would also add some type of additional credibility. We have booked Amy on radio, TV, all over because, as I've said, she's been a client of ours for years. And so, you know, if you have media and PR, and Amy does, she has it on, I think she has it on one of these other pages. You could actually do all of this on one page or two pages. So, yeah, you can see these are several videos that she has. There's a TV appearance. Here's another TV appearance that we booked her on. Here's some radio podcast, etc. In fact, I would tell Amy, this is pretty sparse. I know she has more than that, so she probably needs to take the time to put more content on this page so people see that it's a little bit beefier. The point is, you need something. And honestly, you can have something like this built for just a few $1,000, $5,000, et cetera, to do something like that. You know, and if you want to speak for a fee, 5, 10, 20,000 and beyond, you need some type of basic speaker page like this that will help. Question from Tony: does my book have to be for business training only, because that is what you mostly talk about? Because my book is fantasy. No, it doesn't have to be on business training. You can speak on any topic, Tony. Now, I don't know what type of speaking engagements there are for people that write fantasy books, but I know that there are tons of conferences and associations for fantasy authors. So, you know, if you want to be a speaker to an association or to a conference, et cetera, then you could absolutely do that. It does not matter what your topic is. There is a conference, there is an event, there is an association that will cater to that particular topic. All I'm saying, when I said in the beginning that it shouldn't be broad, it needs to be narrow, right? You don't want it to be so broad that everybody looks at it and thinks, well, that's applicable, but it's not really as narrow as what we're looking for. So you're better off narrowing, like Amy, of course, has her books, and her books are on branding, personal branding. And then she has a book on personal happiness. So her speeches tend to be around, she does speeches to business communities around branding and design. And she does speeches to big corporations on employee happiness, on happiness in the workplace, et cetera. So you can do the exact same thing, and there's no reason not to. Greg says, ask Stephen King. Exactly. Stephen King spent more time in his early days than almost anything except for writing, simply making his presence known. He spoke at every opportunity he had. He appeared on media. In other words, Stephen King became a household name, not just because his book and his writings were good, but because he got in front of people on a continuous basis. So if you want to be a big name, you're going to become a big name by being in front of the right people. And the same is true when it comes to speaking engagements. Okay. So again, that's amythespeaker.com. You can check that out for yourself. Number 4, have a speaker video or media video that shows you speaking on your topic. Now, here's the cool thing, and Amy and I laughed about this because I talked to her earlier today about this. She actually doesn't have that, but this is something that both of us suggest. Now, Amy, you know, she booked 97 engagements without having that particular thing. But here's the deal. You know, if you're going to do some type of speaking engagement, then bring a video crew, you know, bring, 2 young people that are in college for videography, and have them bring their setup and shoot video of you from a couple of different angles. Or if you're speaking at an engagement and that engagement does their own video, then make a request and say you would like a copy of your presentation on video, and they'll do that for you. So get yourself some video. It's important to have. This is my client, Roddy Chong. And, Roddy has his main website, and within his website, he has pages for speaking. So just like I told you before, if you have your main business website, you can, unlike Amy, the speaker, you can simply have pages on that site. Now, here's the one thing. Roddy basically is a professional musician and is a speaker. So for the most part, those two things kind of go hand in hand. He's always presenting, whether it's on stage with Shania Twain or Celine Dion playing the violin, or as a professional speaker. So, it's not as though Roddy is like myself, the founder of Bestseller Publishing, and then I have a speaker page on the Bestseller Publishing site. That to me, feels like a disconnect. I would prefer in that case, I don't, because I'm not looking for those kind of speaking engagements. But if I was, I would have a Rob the Speaker website. And that Rob the Speaker website would be exclusive to speaking opportunities. Roddy's done a pretty good job. You can go to roddychong.com and you can see, what he's done. He has the various different speeches. He's got a press kit. He's got him keynote speaking. So if you click on that, then you can see, and he's got, great pictures. Obviously there's a picture of Roddy speaking. These are testimonials of people at his speeches. And he's fantastic. He's spoken in front of as many as, I think, 10, 15,000, and of course, smaller groups as well. So there's him live, there's him, playing the violin with Celine Dion and other professionals. And then there's him doing big speaking engagements on large stages as well. So I don't love, Roddy is a good friend of mine. And so I've told him this, I don't love the way this setup is, but look, even something like this is fine. And Roddy has commanded $25,000 fees for speeches, for his speaking engagements. So, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you do need these elements within your speaker site so that you can answer the key questions that the person that is thinking about booking you has in their mind, right? They want to see you in front of a crowd. They want to hear, ideally, from other people that offered a testimonial. They want to see a minute or two of you speaking and get a feel for your enthusiasm, your passion, your storytelling ability. So make it easy for them. Give them all of that stuff in one place so that they can book you, because all they want to do is check their boxes. They want to get on to the next thing. They don't want to look at 500 speakers to pick one. They want to pick the right one as quickly as possible. Question from Alan. I am a musician on stage, but always giving testimonials. Can they be used? Of course they can. And Alan, you should go to Roddy's site, because Roddy is a musician by trade. He plays every year with TSO, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, does like 120 engagements over like a 3-month period. That's how TSO rolls. They do it over the holiday. And of course, he still plays now and again for Celine and Shania and those. That's where he kind of became famous, playing the violin. But what he primarily does is he does speaking, and he actually plays the violin while he speaks and does some really, really unique and interesting things. In fact, I've never seen anybody do it. And he does a very, very moving and powerful speaking engagement using both of those things together. So point being, speaker page, whether it's, on your own business, whether it's a separate page or whatnot, these are the elements that you really need to look for and you really need to have. Okay. And then lastly, have a transformative, positive message to share. Probably goes without saying, but if you're a newer speaker, you may not have anything yet to share. And my suggestion is going to be, if you're going to do part 2, which is actually begin marketing yourself, and I'll share briefly, although there's a much deeper training in the BSP area on how to do this. But if you're going to go to step 2, you want to make sure that you have, these kinds of materials in place, and you have a great or a number of great speeches that you can do, like I shared here about Roddy. Let's see, where was it? Right here. Roddy has Let Your Instinct Lead, The Scrappy Factor, Comfort in the Uncomfortable, The Rockstar Performance. And like I shared, Amy has a number of them as well. These are the various speeches that Amy can do, and there's 6 of them. And there's not a lot of information about them. There's just a title, and you get the idea. Happy Workplace, The Art of Crushing College, because she's done some collegiate speaking, the business of social in a digital world. Love it. Okay. So you want to let people know what you can actually do and what you can actually speak on. All right. So pretty simple. Those 5 things are kind of foundational and fundamental. And so if you say to yourself, well, Rob, my book isn't done, but I really want to get out there and I want to start speaking when my book is done. Fantastic. Then the next thing I'm going to say is your speaker website set up? No? Okay, then start building that out. Build a personal brand or speaker website. Do you have any speaker video or media video? If you don't, then you know what? You can speak for free at a number of different places, right? You could go to a Rotary Club meeting or a Lions Club meeting or something like that, do a speech, bring a videographer that you can maybe spend a couple of $100 for the day, have him or her shoot some video of you. In other words, start getting this stuff and start putting it together so that when your book is ready and when you want to hit the ground running, you have some of these other kind of foundational and fundamental elements in place to do it. Okay. If that's not what you want, and if what your goal is not to, speak on a regular basis and be paid high fees to speak, then you don't need any of this stuff, right? None of that stuff is really necessary. All right. Ongoing process to get booked. So many of you already know this. The way Amy booked 97 speaking engagements over an 18-month period, ranging from $5,000 to $12,000 in fees, is she used this very simple process that I have taught for the last 6 or 7 or 8 years. And that is, it's 3 steps. It's target, connect, and build. And there's a more in-depth training in the BSPU area. So I'm not going to go into depth, but briefly, the number 1 step is target. You need to figure out the events, the associations, and the corporations that you want to speak at. And when I say you need to figure it out, I mean you need the name of the person that books the speakers. You need their email address. You need their telephone number. You need their mailing address. So you're going to get the mailing address, the email, the telephone number, and the name of the person at the event, the association, or the corporation that you want to speak at. I always recommend having at least 50, right? 50 of those events or associations or corporations. And if you do the rest of the steps, you're going to get buku opportunities to speak for a fee. That's number 1. You need to know your target. Number 2 is you need to connect with your target. See, now you know your target where you want to speak, but they don't know you. They don't know anything about you. So what you need to do is you need to frame yourself properly and connect with them. Now, how do you frame yourself properly, right? You don't want to frame yourself as a beggar. You don't want to frame yourself as somebody that's, oh, please, please, please book me. I need speaking engagements. No, you chase and they run. So what you need to do is you want to frame yourself as the best opportunity, the best potential speaker for their particular event, conference, association, whatever. So how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to mail a copy of your book to them. That's why you need their address. You are going to send a cover letter, and the cover letter is nothing more than like hello, how are you, information about the various speeches that you give, and here's my free book, and I see you have a conference upcoming on such and such a date. And here's the topic of your conference. I've spoken on these 3 things, which could be helpful. And I'll have my assistant get in touch with you so we can have a conversation. That's it. So an intro letter, a copy of the book is mailed, and that whole thing can be done for $5. $3 to print your book, and about $2 to send the letter and in an envelope. That's all you need to do. After that, that's your connection and your framing piece. So now when they receive the book in the mail, it's not like everybody else that's emailing them and begging for an opportunity to speak. You've set yourself aside. I promise you, if there are 500 speakers that want that speaking opportunity, there's probably only 2 or 3 that ever mailed them a book or a package or anything. So you have already set yourself apart from the other 497, and you've set yourself head and shoulders above them, okay? You have framed yourself differently. By the way, this works fantastic for client acquisition. Let's say that you sell something very high ticket, 50,000, 100,000, large corporate engagements, et cetera. Why wouldn't you frame yourself to someone that doesn't know you with a copy of your book and a cover letter and an introduction like that? You should, right? Anyway, I digress. We're talking about speaking engagements. So that's number two. Number three is you want to build. So how do you build? Really, it's about building relationships and building trust. Those are the two things that you're building. So you found the right target, you've connected, and you've framed yourself to that right target. Well, now you need to build more trust with them, and you need to build a relationship with them. So what do? Well, you get on the telephone with them. And there are two ways to do that. Number one, you pick up the phone and call yourself, right? Hi, is Mr. Jones in? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Jones isn't in. Okay, well, I just want to make sure, did Mr. Jones get a copy of the book that I sent him? Oh, yes, Mr. Jones got a copy of your book. Fantastic. Well, look, I was wondering if I could schedule a call with Mr. Jones just to make sure that, see if there's any, opportunities, to see if there's any type of synergies and ways that we could potentially work together, and just a hello. And when you send a book, and you've led with the giving hand, you're going to have a much greater opportunity to have that phone call. Now, that's the number one way. I prefer the number two way. The number two way is actually to have someone call on your behalf. I would rather, if you have a staff, I'd rather you have one of your staff members call and try to set up a meeting between you and the person you're trying to reach, the person that's in charge of the speaking engagement. That's much better if you have a staff. If you don't have a staff, you could hire a virtual assistant. It will only take 1 or 2 hours a week for your VA to actually make the telephone calls and book you in your calendar with them. And all you're going to do on that call is you're going to build. You're going to build trust. You're going to build the relationship, because now you've done more than 95% of everybody else that is interested in that speaking engagement. There's one more thing that you can do, and I have it listed right here, and that is, besides the phone call, if for some reason you don't get in touch, or quite honestly, even if you do get in touch with them, it's really great to be able to shoot a quick video, like 30 seconds, 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, where you introduce yourself. You just shoot a video, face to camera. Hey, Mr. Jones, I'm Rob Kosberg. I sent you a copy of my best-selling book, Publish, Promote, Profit. I put a little sticky note on there because you have a conference coming up on book promotion. So I just wanted you to read chapters 6, 7, and 8, because they talk about book promotion and how I became a Wall Street Journal best-selling author. And anyway, I thought maybe we could get on the telephone to see if there are some synergies. Do me a favor. If there is, then shoot me an email here. Otherwise, I'm going to have my assistant try to get in touch with your assistant and book us for a time together. Thanks so much. Look forward to talking to you. Bam. That's it. Just a 1 minute long video of you saying hello, you saying you're the guy or gal that sent them the book that they've either gotten in the mail or will get in the mail. And this builds. It builds rapport. It builds trust. It builds, that framework needed to get you what you want, which is a speaking engagement. Okay. Now there's more in-depth training in the BSPU membership area on this ongoing process, because this is not something you just do 1 week. Ideally, this is something you do week in and week out, because you want to keep your calendar. If you do, maybe you don't, but if you want to be a speaker and a paid speaker, you want to keep your calendar filled, and you want the best opportunities, right? The ones that pay you the most and put you in front of the majority, the biggest group of your ideal clients. Okay. So the more you do this, the more great opportunities you're going to get. You'll be able to say no to the lesser opportunities, because you'll have a plethora of opportunities coming to you.